you have unlimited wealth stored within. Treasures, unlimited treasures within. Then you withdraw from that wealth. Then you go out to the marketplace, and now you have a lot of money to spend to invest.
And now you're magnetic, because authenticity is one of the highest vibrations that you can reach.
The hardship is your medicine. What is happening when you suffer, when you're hurt, when your ego doesn't get fulfilled? What happens? You burn.
Right.
So what's burning? What's burning is the cloak, the veil that's keeping you from your divine one unit self.
Joy does not come from without. There's nothing in this world that is going to bring you joy. The only way to access joy is from deep within your soul.
Life is as it should be. The problems you have in your life now are actually remedies to your next level. It's a funny thing because you want AI to do all this stuff for you.
Yeah.
But to what point?
Right.
There's a part of you that says, well, I don't want it to do too much. Because
it's true.
I'm talking about from the perspective of the common person who basically their job, that's their job.
Well, 30,000 people just got let out, just got fired from Oracle, one of the biggest tech companies out there.
Mm-hmm.
And probably part of that reason is because of AI. So, there's merit to it.
There is. That's why I'm coming out with the esoteric.
Right.
So my solution to this issue where humanity is in a different era now, right? Humanity is in this era where there is more technology.
Mm-hmm.
So we can look at that from a positive lens. The positive lens that I use is all that means is that we humans have to level up now.
100%.
Because we think this apparatus, the human physiology, based on erroneous science, Newtonian science, if you will, that it's limited. But it's not limited. It's unlimited. So what's going to be very in demand in this next era are people, coaches, people that help you develop your consciousness.
Right.
So that's what's going to be the solution for the displacement of many humans.
Yeah, and I think people are going to have to figure out what their true blueprint is. Because many people on this planet are living something that's not really their calling. That's not where they're supposed to be.
Right.
And that's why there's this dysregulation either in their health or in their mental space, because they're not truly living out their purpose.
Right.
And so because of that, this is allowed, right? They get fired or they get laid off or whatever it is, but then they're just looking for another 9 to 5, not realizing that they're not living in their purpose.
Right. And this is going to force them to find their inner kingdom or queendom.
Yeah.
Because that's where the answers lie. I'm just talking about the red letters again.
Yeah.
I'm talking about what Jesus said. He said, the kingdom of heaven is within. However, we humans are too distracted to look within.
Yeah.
We're always looking without. I'm without this. I'm without that. I'm without this. I don't have. Da-da-da-da-da. What is that? It's lack.
That's outsourcing your power, which is where you become powerless. You become dependent on others or things.
Meantime, you have unlimited wealth stored within. Treasures. Unlimited treasures within. This is what the masters talked about. Let's go within.
Yeah.
Identify who you really are. Then you withdraw from that wealth. Then you go out to the marketplace. And now you have a lot of money to spend to invest.
And now you're magnetic, because authenticity is one of the highest vibrations that you can reach. And this has been scientifically proven. They've actually measured it in the HeartMath Institute and many other places where authenticity is one of the highest vibrations. So it's that X factor. When you see somebody on a show that goes to try out for something and they can't really put why this person is better than this person, but it's the X factor. It's them living in their purpose and being authentic to who they truly are, which then is obvious.
Right. So how do you reach that? Well, the best way to tell the audience how to reach that X factor is to surrender your clinging,
Yeah.
your expectations, not run away from the suffering, not run away from the hardship. The hardship is your medicine. What is happening when you suffer, when you're hurt, when your ego doesn't get fulfilled? What happens? You burn.
Right.
So what's burning? What's burning is the cloak, the veil that's keeping you from your divine one unit self. That's what it is.
It's just sourced in expectations and
Right.
control. So, if you're not, I've heard it said this way where, why are you swimming upstream? You might be in the right stream. You might be in the right path, but why are you swimming upstream when the flow is guiding you to where you're supposed to be going? So let go and let God do what he's doing so that you can get to the place you're supposed to go to. Because what if the place you're supposed to go to is just the dock downstream, like 100 feet, and you're swimming upstream because you think you know better than God, you think you know better than Source, and so you're counterproductive and working against the grain.
Yeah, it's the ego that's doing that.
Yeah.
So
Well, in case in point, our world right now, the tribalism, the how people think that they're right on every corner. I'm right, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. They can't agree to disagree. And that's the real crux of it. That's the issue of what's going on in our world right now, is that everyone thinks that they're right and they're pushing against the real flow of what's happening. But then again, like you said, there's a purpose for everything.
right. Even the ego and its existence is necessary.
Yeah.
It's baked into this experience. But as necessary as it is, it's also something that we need to overcome.
Right.
And that is a letting go sort of dynamic.
Right. And as we overcome, we become a beacon and an example for others to realize, oh, I went through, whatever trauma or past, and this person was able to overcome that. Maybe I can too. And so that is powerful because the more that we all step into our authentic self and into our purpose, the more that others are freed.
And we're helping God.
Yeah.
I dare to say that. What?
Yeah.
We're helping God. What do you mean by that? I mean, when we demonstrate through free will, which is a sacred right that God allows, we demonstrate love over fear, we are moving the evolution of God's kingdom.
Right. And I think there's a scripture, I don't recall exactly what, but it says co-creation with God. And I always thought that was so beautiful because that's an empowering stance of like, okay, yeah, I'm here, but I'm not always going to be outsourcing power or looking to the divine to see what it is that I'm supposed to do. The kingdom of heaven is within. I am here to co-create. So what is that?
It's because of there's a process in the early stages of the person seeking God. There is a duality.
Right.
There's a separation.
And there was a beauty in it, like the worship and music and a lot of the things that people practice.
Yeah,
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, milk is great when you're a baby.
Yeah.
But later you want to eat meat.
Yeah.
You want to eat something of substance.
Yeah.
So the point I'm making isn't to judge somebody's coming that's coming into consciousness.
Right.
It's all sacred.
Yes.
But at some point, here's where people get stuck. They get stuck in dogma.
Right.
So you know what's illogical to me?
Yes.
And I talked about this on Mike's podcast. I'm gonna continue it here. What's illogical? Because you know what? I believe that spirituality is also logical.
Agreed.
I don't think that you have to have blind faith. I think the way God created existence is for it to also make sense. So what doesn't make sense to me, and I'm gonna take a stab here. What doesn't make sense is that the larger consciousness system, God, created existence and forces everybody to believe in one way. And whoever doesn't goes to eternal damnation. This is a core component of Christianity.
Yeah.
Now, you can sit there and you can say, well, I don't believe it that way. That's
Right.
fine with me. You can make concessions so that you can come into logic somehow. But you're making concessions. You're making concessions against the dogma that truly exists in your religion,
Right. The modern version, at least.
which is what sectarianism is.
Yeah.
Why do you have all these sects in Christendom?
Because people don't agree. The charismatics want to speak in tongues and prophesy. And then the Lutherans and the Catholics have their own belief system. And there's so many different versions of Christianity. And that's, for me personally, was the thing that I just couldn't keep continuing. Because it was like, I believe in the core tenets of what Christ taught. I believe in him. I always have and always will. But the thing that really just was so painful and hurtful personally, but also that I saw others in pain over, was just the arguing over the dogma. And it's like, well, your experience is your experience. It's almost like invalidating someone's emotions. Like you and I, let's say we get in an argument and you have a certain perspective, which you're allowed to have as a human being, right? As Cash, and same as me. So how are we supposed to be, Christ-like and in Christ consciousness, and yet we invalidate someone's experience by sectarianism, by saying this is right, this is wrong, I'm good, you're bad. It's such a divisive way of living within the framework of those dogmas.
From where I'm standing with God, I would not quarrel.
Yeah.
Because you don't want...
It's not worth it.
If somebody is in that place, that's sacred.
Right.
Let them stay there.
Yeah.
Let them come out of it themselves.
For sure.
See, when you go to then attack that person, then you're invalidating your own consciousness.
Right.
That's something I learned.
Yeah.
Is that when you sit there and you want to debate and argue to prove you're right and they're wrong, you're basically kind of demoting yourself, rather than allowing that person to carry out whatever the ego needs to go through.
Yeah.
But back to the subject.
Well, and I think to that point, like, I think part of it is fear-based, right? Because they so strongly believe in that dogma, they're fearful of, will that person go to hell because they don't believe X, Y, Z, or whatever it is. There's this fear-based consciousness about what's happening in that dynamic. And so, yeah, I understand that because I used to think that way. But at the same time, there's a higher level.
Yeah, and so let's say somebody is like that, and they're praying for you, and they really believe earnestly that this is what. Great, let them.
Yeah.
Just release it.
Well, and because their heart is pure in that.
Yeah.
Like they're not really approaching it from a place of malice. They really truly do care about that person.
Sure.
So for me, I don't see it that way. I don't see it in a place of malice. I think I used to be very hurt by it. I think I used to have a lot of trauma around that. But now it's just people have their own paths and they need to see it out, and truth is immutable. Truth will always stand, and there's nothing to fear beyond that.
There's a couple points there. Is that release and let your fruits be born. Let your fruit come out, and that will be the real evidence.
Yeah.
Right? Let your fruit come out. If you're walking this path,
you will know them by their fruits.
Yeah. And so there's that, and there's the allowance of them carrying out their own salvation through this ego, which is necessary for them at some point. I've been there, but on this path, God wants us to go further. That's going to take us laying down our belief systems. Even if we are convicted or thought that this is good theology, at some point we have to be courageous enough to lay that down.
Right.
If we are earnestly with God, what is there to fear?
Nothing.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of, I believe God wants us to grow up. The whole purpose, I'm going to go back to logic.
Mm-hmm.
The whole purpose of God creating this isn't to get into forms, this prophet, that prophet. I said this before. However you need to grow up on earth, however that is, you may be part of a vehicle, a religion, where that is appropriate for you. If your heart is right, it's logical for the larger consciousness system to have that be a true pathway to evolution. Here's why. The point of us coming here is to learn love. It's to learn compassion.
Yeah.
It's to lower entropy, which is a measure of disorder. How do we do that? By meaning, by learning, by sharing, by cooperating, by understanding what drives the other person. I talk about equanimity a lot. That's what we're here for.
Yes.
We're not here to say, this is the actual way. If you don't say these words, if you don't raise your hand, if you don't do this, that, and the other based on whatever theology, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
That's not the point. That's illogical.
Right.
So I look at it from the lens of logic, and I can see another thing I want to make, and this is I dare to say, I believe God is not the way we think. We say, well, God is perfect. God is perfect in some ways, but he's left itself open to evolve. In other words, God is consciousness. What's the intrinsic, innate design of consciousness? To continually grow. How does it do that? It does that by creating this third dimension, letting parts of itself, through free will, come to this earth, have real consequences, and choose love despite the struggle.
Right.
In that way, we help God evolve. What's an example of that? Well, look at the God of the Jews, Yahweh. Yahweh was a vengeful God, a jealous God. He ordered the Levites to destroy parts of the tribe. What did the people do? His people, they always cheated on God, according to the narratives.
Idolatry.
They always did that, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is, at some point, God changes, God pivots. God says, you know what?
After the flood.
This is not working.
Yeah.
This is not working. So here's proof that God himself is flexible. He's going, okay, well, I created this. This is clearly not working. So what does he do? He comes to earth as a man. The ultimate humility. This is the Odan Olam, master of the universe, right? He comes to earth as a man. He goes to the bathroom, he farts, he eats, he has all the same things we have.
All the
right?
struggles.
He deals with sex, temptation. Maybe he had a wet dream. Whatever. He goes through a human experience.
Yeah.
And now the Beatitudes. So now he says, look, it's not those laws. It's only one law. It's love, and love your neighbor as yourself. This completes the law. The reason I told Mike, I said, I follow the red letters. You know why? Because they're closer to God's heart. When you go and read other prophets, it's further from God's heart. They point to the right direction.
Yeah.
Okay? Elijah, Elisha, Paul, they point to the right direction. But only Jesus' words are closest.
Right.
Right? So that's why
They pointed towards him. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
they prophesied about him.
It's everything is a
Yeah.
Christophany.
Yeah.
Even Cyrus the Great is a Christophany, right? It's a reflection of what's to come, the Messiah, Mashiach. So I focus on that and I go, okay, well, that makes sense to me. Love is the currency. Love is anti-entropy. Love, but how do we love? Well, we love by the transformation of our Adamic self. The ego self has to be seized, cessation.
Right.
This is enlightenment.
Well, there's that one scripture, I don't remember who wrote it, but it says, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So that comes to mind in that regard, because it's this part of the humanity, part of the psyche, part of the human, need structure is certainty. And so as humans, we want to take God, this expansive, full of possibility, ultimate being, and condense it down into something that we can be certain of and understand. And so I think that's part of evolving, as you said, as we evolve in our faith, some people say, or in our journey, is renewing your mind and constantly understanding that there's more to learn. Like there is no set, okay, I've arrived. There's no plateau. There's no, moment where you have arrived, right? So there's a constant evolution that has to happen in that renewing of your mind.
The ego wants to have certainty.
Correct.
The ego wants to have this idea of I've arrived.
Right.
The ego wants to say, I know everything now.
Right.
This is the right church. This is the right interpretation. The ego wants all that.
Well, and like we were talking about earlier.
But the ego is keeping us from rising beyond.
Right.
Evolving, maturing. This is what I'm talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what like we were talking about earlier is that humans love story, right? That's why we have all of these epic poems. That's why we have the Iliad, the Bible, the, what's the Hindu scripture? I can't remember.
Bhagavad Gita, the Rig Veda.
Many of these stories.
Mahabharata.
Yes. And so I think part of the human experience is that we want a beginning, a middle, and an end. We want a beginning, a struggle, an overcoming, and an end.
Right.
And so that's kind of it's a pattern throughout all of history.
Right.
Any human experience that you've seen has that.
Because it's a 5 sensory construct.
Right.
See?
But if you think about it deeper, before any of these stories, before any of this certainty that we kind of superimposed over the God story, God was, right? So infinite possibility existed before any structure, before any dogma.
No, actually, I would say, to piggyback, God wasn't.
Yeah.
God is the unmanifest.
Yeah.
God is the unmanifest.
Yeah.
Infinite unmanifest. But then it manifests.
Right.
That outward stroke is what this life is. Now
Like
there is
in Genesis, where it talks about the beginning of the
Yes,
world,
yes.
right? Yes.
God creates time and space.
Yes.
So now
Infinite possibility.
right. So in her or his infinite intrinsic blueprint of possibilities, we exist. Our families exist. The love for our kids, all the experiences that we go through exist, but without knowing our source divinity. And now our souls come here and we work this shit out.
Right.
Right? And
we get really distracted and we look outside of us and we
let's
learn
talk
our
about
lessons.
that. Let's talk about that. The reason I talked about, last week, why do you pray 5 times a day? Because I do that now. I meditate 5 times a day. So why do I do that? This is a perfect junction point.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I'm saying, folks. If you can here's the challenge. If you can focus on God all day long while you're doing other things, okay, while you're doing life, imagine how that would be. Would that be incredibly powerful? I would say yes.
Yes.
Right. But 99% of people can't do it. They can't do it because it takes discipline. It takes discipline. And you have to throw everything at it. You have to be extremely disciplined. There's a way to do it, but many don't want to do it. Why? Because there's too much to pay. The person that we talked about where they own a bar and they're trying to evolve and get closer to God, they're going to have to make a hard decision. Should I serve alcohol at my bar? There's a price to pay.
True.
If you're dealing with money, you're going to have to give that up in order to grow. Whatever clingings that we have,
Yeah.
you're going to have to lay it down. It's worth it. But from the perspective of the ego, it's dull. Oh my God, I'm not going to give that up. And then
scary. There's fear involved.
Fear, because it's inherent in the ego, because it wants to stay in control.
Mm-hmm.
It will not buy into the idea that, man, if you let this go, this is a hard choice, dude. But if you're going to do this, there's going to be an avalanche of bliss and glory in your life.
Right. And that comes with experience, like you said. So with experience and evolution, you start to realize that when you go with the flow, when you're in the flow state, when you surrender, when you not silence the ego, but when you get to that state, you are able to be open to the limitless possibilities. And when you do that, you get better than you even thought you could have from the beginning.
It's because you're in communication with God.
Yeah.
See, when you're in communication with God throughout the day,
Mm-hmm.
your dialogue increases. It stabilizes.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you are now less and less ego prone. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, because if you're not the heart-brain coherence, right? If you're not connected in these two areas and throughout the whole body, some people talk about the chakra systems. If you're not fully connected with your entire being and you're just living in your head, that's a fallacy, right? Because pure logic, just for the sake of logic, can put you in loops, and that's where the ego can live very well. And so if you don't let go of that and allow God's spirit
as
source,
simple as letting go of that. That's not tangible for most humans.
Right.
Which is why we talk about esoteric practice.
Right.
People say, "Why do you do all this esoteric practice?" Because the esoteric practice helps you get through the mind funk.
Right.
And then you build that cohesiveness.
Breath work, meditation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fasting.
Fasting.
What did Jesus do? What did Abraham do? What did Moses do? What did all these people do?
Mm-hmm.
They fasted.
They went up to the mountain.
So people want all people want freedom and liberation, but they're not willing to pay the price.
Well, we live in a microwave society where people want shortcuts.
They want shortcuts, and they're not willing to pay the price, and they're willing to go to church to pay their insurance premium so they don't go to hell. That's what Christianity is. That's what it is today, majority-wise.
Yeah.
We've come far away from ancient Christianity.
Yes.
Ancient Christianity is not what this is. This is a different type of religion. And I don't think Jesus ever wanted to create a religion.
No.
He said that he is the way. It's the way. There is a way, a path. And that path is non-duality.
Yes.
The path is piercing through this construct of separation. And that's going to take, the prize is high, okay? Liberation is totally worth it.
Yeah.
But you have to, it's the eye of the needle that Jesus talks about. I think it was Nicodemus. Or
I don't recall.
Anyways.
The wealthy man.
Yes. Whatever it is that we as humans are distracted by on the outside, that has to be put on the altar.
Well, in that story, the eye of the needle, he said it's easier for a camel to fit through an eye of a needle than it is for a wealthy man to enter the kingdom of God. And I think that what that was, are you attached?
Yes.
Are you attached to all of your wealth and all of your things and whatever that means to you? In order to follow the path of Christ, you have to let those things go.
Let me tell you something that I know about money. Money is like a shoe. If it's too big, If you have too much, you're going to have problems walking. If it's too tight, you're going to have pain on your feet. The thing with money is that it has to be balanced. Money is, at its core, the root of all evil. Because in that way, when it's too tight or when it's too loose, we become attached to it. Most people that are poor, they're always bitching about money, aren't they?
Yes.
And most people that have a lot, they're always bitching about somebody trying to take their money, right?
Yeah, I've seen that pattern
It's
for sure.
only the people that have the right size. What does that indicate? That indicates that they're not infatuated with money. They're detached. Folks, Jesus wants us to be detached from the things of the world.
Yeah.
These things are toys. They're great to look at, but we shouldn't be attached to them. That is what idolatry is. Idolatry is when we look forward to these material things, we rationalize that it's kosher, it's fine, but in our heart, that's what we look forward to. We're sleeping with these things. We don't think of intimacy with God. You see the difference? There is a huge summit point prize if we put everything in towards the kingdom. Seek ye first the kingdom and everything shall be added to you.
Yes.
That is not cliche. That is a real thing. But many won't go that way. Narrow is the path.
Yeah.
So that narrow path means I'm okay with being poor in spirit. I'm okay with being not eating and sacrificing my what I perceive as earthly pleasure. I'm okay with not being pulled in to materialism or lust or things like that. This is the practice.
The status quo.
This is the practice. This is the practice.
Yeah.
Being okay, accepting what comes. That's why I don't like, and we might differ here, but I don't really care for people doing what my past life was. To me, it has no value. Or,
What do you mean by that?
Well, there's people that go and they want to know about their past lives.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to know. I want to struggle. I don't want to have an advantage. I want to take, I've come to a place in my life where I want to take life for what it is. Whatever God is bringing me is for my perfect good. I've come to a place where I understand that. I don't want a cheat code. I don't want to game the system. I don't want to know what that's why I don't look at astrology. I look at astrology, but I'm detached from it. And it's just fun. These are cool metaphors, but I want to take life as it comes.
Right here, right now.
Yeah, because I live in this present moment. This intimacy with God, this 5 times a day junction points that I meditate, it keeps the continuity of my connection alive.
Yeah.
And then it causes me to speak with God in those quiet moments that I'm sequencing into the next activities. I'm always in conversation with God. And guess what happens? God starts to drop knowledge. That knowledge AI can't do. Back to the first 5 minutes of our podcast.
Yes.
AI is only as good as the information before it. It doesn't have consciousness. So AI isn't here to destroy us. It can, if you look at it that way. It's here to move us up. How do we do that? By activating what we have, which AI can never have. AI is silicon-based. We're carbon-based. Carbon-based means that we have access to these records of wisdom that can only be accessed when we're purified from our ego. When we're purified from our ego, God grants us access into knowledge and wisdom that surpasses understanding. Okay? I want to drop this mic right now, but but what I'm saying is, folks, you have the ability to access wisdom, Solomon level wisdom,
Yes.
if you purify. You have to get rid of idolatry, of all these earthly things. They're fleeting. They're temporal. You don't need any of it. It's nonsense.
You're not going to take it with you.
Wake up. Get rid of it. It doesn't.
It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't in it of itself doesn't have any meaning.
The only way to enjoy these things really truly is when we have the kingdom within stabilized.
Yes.
Then the material things are like great because they
Icing on
don't.
the cake.
Yeah, because they don't have a hold on you.
Yes.
You have them. They don't have you.
Well, joy needs to come from within.
Yes.
Joy does not come from without. There's nothing in this world that is going to bring you joy. The only way to access joy is from deep within your soul.
Right.
And at the soul level, if you can't access that, then you're not going to achieve your purpose in your dreams, because that any amount of gold, money, resources, whatever it is, will never satisfy you.
Never. No, it'll only, like I said, it'll only make you want more and try to protect it, and your moral compass will change.
Yes.
Because if your happiness is that, which is a very inferior happiness, and you don't know it because you're in a fear-based egoistic system, then you'll kill and plunder for what you perceive at that point in your egoistic state as true happiness.
Yes.
Imagine how morally corrupt that is.
Well, that's why it's one of the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
Greed.
So we're talking about, in this next era of AI, purification of the soul is the key. Life is as it should be. The problems you have in your life now are actually remedies to your next level. You're just not seeing it that way. we're here to tell you that whatever problem you have, great. I'm happy for you. You need to see it for what it is, though. You're misinterpreting what you see there as a folly. It happens to be a friend only when we overcome it and accept it and sit with it and learn from it. And that's going to take humility.
Right.
That's going to take an openness to learn, not be rigid, dogmatic, legalistic, but an openness to learn. You don't need a priest, a preacher, anything like that. It's you and God. It's already this. Everything is sort of, it's a bundle package to be on earth. You know,
It's your birthright to have access to God.
if you truly want God, if you truly want this experience of liberation, freedom, you can have it. God will send you the exact techniques and doors and people to allow that to happen. And
Always does.
You'll learn patience along the way. You'll learn all the things that will little by little transform your ego, cease it to exist. And what comes through is this illuminous presence of God. And you realize that's what you are. You didn't know that before. Now you do. It's a huge eureka moment. And you have a lot of these eureka moments now. And now you look forward to more eureka moments. And the former things have passed away. And you now grow up and you don't want to play with those little toys anymore. And you realize the more you let go, the closer you get. And you realize you don't need anything but God, and that there is no separation. And you continue in that way. And I think that's the ultimate purpose of why we're here.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it, is when you can be like a little child and kind of take away all the layers of whatever you've gone through in your life and really realize, like, I've always had it. It's always been here. You know,
It's an uncovering.
it is. It's layers of programming, social conditioning, whatever it is, and then you come back and you're like, wait a minute, I know this place. I've been here before. This is who I really am.
Yep. Another thing I wanted to challenge in the Abrahamic religions, the idea of we're just going to do our best here because we're sinners. And, when we die, we go to heaven. I'm going to smash that right now. I believe 100% logical that we come back and we get another chance and we get as many chances as possible.
Reincarnation.
Absolutely. Transmigration.
Well, ancient Christians believed in reincarnation. It's in the Bible.
Yeah.
I think it was, I don't recall, we might have to come back to that, but I think Jesus was saying, who is it that you think I am? And they said, is it Elijah? Is it, so they were alluding to the fact that they believed in reincarnation. Belief is, I don't know, that's not my favorite word, but the point is that ancient Christians believed many, many, many things that modern Christianity is completely aloof to at this point.
Yeah, the Council of Nicaea, it took out certain parts of the Bible, the Ethiopian Bible, Enoch, and many, many other scriptures, Thomas.
22 books.
Because remember, Rome needed to control. And what better way to do that through faith-driven politics, right? So that was the advent of modern Christianity, right? Yeah. Control, manipulation, fear, right? Yes. So that's esoteric.
Well, you create a problem and then you create a solution to that problem and then you have control.
Now, that doesn't mean people that are Catholics within the system of that can't find the non-duality. Those vehicles still work. At all. Yeah, those vehicles still work.
I think that's what those saints, many of the saints that are
Assisi, Saint Francis of Assisi.
Oh yes, unbelievable.
The lady from Avila, right? These mystics used those vehicles.
Yes,
but grew up through them into these higher esoteric realms of unity.
Yeah.
Same goes for Islam.
Yeah.
Within Sufism, everything that is part of non-dualism is poignantly in Sufism. Advaita Vedanta. Okay, you have regular Hinduism.
Yes.
Then you have mystical Hinduism. This is for people that grow up, are willing to destroy their ego and let everything go and become knowers, not just believers. And so you see that in all of the different vehicle traditions.
Yeah.
But back to transmigration. This is not a courtroom, people. Life is not a courtroom.
Yeah.
Life is a classroom. We come back, we learn from our mistakes because we were supposed to make free will decisions. We come back, there's a major compassion, there's major love, there's major forgiveness. Then we come back and try again. This explains why some kids that come to Earth, they remember how they played music like Beethoven before.
Yeah.
There's these amazing stories how kids remember a certain neighborhood. And
then, I've seen those.
We come back, we get it another chance. It's like a video game.
A lot of people call them old souls.
Yes.
Like you'll meet a child, but you feel like either I know you, I've known you before, or that they're an old soul, like that they've been here before. Somehow they have some sort of knowledge that you are just kind of unaware of. I've always felt that about our oldest daughter. She is definitely an old soul. And there's just a knowing for that for me. I'm like, wow, I don't know what to call it or what it is, but I know that that's her. And she's very wise beyond her years.
God is all loving, all compassionate, all merciful. We get as many 7 times 7, 70. What did Jesus say? How many chances do we get?
70 times 7. Forgive someone. That was the forgiveness quote.
One of the most important messages of Jesus, besides the kingdom and the queendom is within, is forgiveness. Yes. Forgiveness. But we suspend when we have legalistic, dogmatic, theological passages which force us to conform into being satanic.
Yeah. I think it dehumanizes people.
And
that kind of dogma.
We'll go far enough to send our kids.
People.
We'll send our kids to go to war.
Yeah.
You're not going to go to war yourself. You're going to send some kid to go to war. Why? Because you can't resolve this conflict
Mm-hmm.
because of your theology again.
Because they're right.
Oh, they're
they're
Muslims.
wrong.
They're this, they're that. They're
Yeah.
Christians.
I'm right and you're wrong.
You know,
Yeah.
look how silly.
It's the oldest
Look how carnal.
playbook.
Yeah, look how carnal our world is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because of eschatology and interpretations,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes against all the prophets' messages.
Yes.
We suspend that, we throw it away. Let's go to war. Let's kill each other.
Yeah.
And it
It's very unfortunate.
completely nullifies the Beatitudes, the scriptures, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to be peacemakers.
Blessed are the peacemakers.
Right. So again, I go back to the Beatitudes because these are the closest words of God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those other commentaries from Paul and this and these letters, they're great, but there's a distance there. They point the way, they point towards Jesus. What did Jesus say? Jesus didn't say, look, if him, here's another one, dare I say it. If Jesus said, if it's so important for his blood sacrifice, again, I'm against this. This is a pagan system of belief.
Right.
Animal sacrifice and human sacrifice are pagan systems of thought.
Mm-hmm.
They crept into Judaism. They crept into these things, and then a theology was created around it.
Yeah.
That, oh, yeah, Jesus is going to be that lamb. He's going to shed his blood.
Yeah.
This is fundamental belief for Christians, okay? For me, it's far from the truth. That is, to me, again, it's another one of those very strong firmware belief systems,
Mm-hmm.
and it keeps us from really getting closer to God.
Because it outsources power.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That whole ideology outsources power because it kind of contradicts in a way what Jesus said, that the kingdom of heaven is within and these things you shall do and more. So it's like, wait, so if it's required that a sacrifice be made because I'm a sinner, but the kingdom of heaven is within, how is the kingdom of heaven within if I'm a sinner?
Mm-hmm.
So there's some disjointedness for me, and I don't claim to be a theologian by any stretch of the imagination, but at the same time, there's a dissonance there for me.
Right. So if that was the case, if this is a major component of Jesus's teachings, not the church,
Right.
clearly he would have put that into the Beatitudes, right? He would have said, hey, I've come here, I'm going to be sacrificed, my blood's going to be, and you, all this stuff. But what he was talking about was more metaphorical.
Yeah.
Right? He was talking, but so what happens is theologians will take that and they'll try to conform it into what narrative religion has to say, and it goes back to that control. And what are the results of that?
Division,
Killing, plunder, eternal damnation. It has to all make sense for that to be right.
and judgment. I think the biggest thing that I've seen is judgment. They
Absolutely.
judge others without really knowing really who these people are, who they are, where they come from, what their thought processes are. And I think a lot of it comes down to culture too, because you and I have both lived in other cultures. You and I have both speak different languages. And there's something to that in the human experience where when you speak a different language, you understand that there are things that are encompassed within that language, within that culture, that cannot be described in English, and vice versa, right? So there's things in American culture that can't be described in other cultures, and they just don't understand it. So in that tiny little framework example that I'm giving, it's like, okay, well, if there's little things that you and I may or may not understand about other cultures because we have no context for it, how much of the contextual realities of Jesus in Aramaic have we lost? And one of the biggest examples that I've seen recently is the Lord's Prayer. The original version, not even the translation, the original version of the Lord's Prayer is so drastically different than what we've been given today that I believe it's it's such a detriment because it was such a beautiful prayer with so much vast expansiveness. And they've dwindled it down to our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. There is so much more to that prayer. And it's such a travesty to me because within these languages and translations, so much of the beauty of what Christ embodied and lived has been lost.
And so that's dangerous because then that's how religions are made.
Exactly.
And ideologies are created.
Yeah.
Because it gets lost in translation.
Well, it comes back to tribalism, right? I translated what you said, and from my paradigm and what I understand in my English brain, there is right because of how I understand the world through my English brain. But if I really understood and was living in the context of where Jesus was in that time, in that language, I believe it would be a completely different thing.
Unless you're born again.
Yes.
There's this born again thing that Jesus talks about. And Jesus was an Essene.
Yes.
He was not a Sadducee. He was not a Pharisee. There was only 3 main tribes of the Jews. He was one of those outcasts, the Essenes. They lived in the desert, in mountains. They fasted. They look at John the Baptist. He was part of that system.
Yeah.
And it was about consciousness development. It was about ego destruction. And what did he do? He railed against the Pharisees all the time. He railed against the Sadducees all the time. The Sadducees were more of a political system.
Yes.
Pharisees were the priestly, the religious system. And Jesus was a political rebel from the perspective of these different groups. And what he held was this quiet confidence, this knowing. And that was a major threat.
Huge threat because it gave the power
because
back to
he
the
was
people.
against the sacrifice. Why do you think he overthrew the tables?
Because they were using the house of God for making money.
And they were sacrificing these animals.
Hundreds of thousands, by the way, which is like hundreds of thousands of gallons of blood that was coming out of this temple.
Jesus says, I don't desire sacrifice. I desire mercy.
Yeah.
It's a completely different path. And so that's the thing. Now, people that are in these cults, Christian cults, they look at this as these are satanic people now. Because we know that. We are satanic, we're run by the devil and all this stuff. But see, that's a telltale sign that they're in a cult.
Well, it's the judgment without the willingness to try to understand.
Right, because they're not looking at the red letters. The red letters are sort of a side hustle. The main thing is what the preacher from the pulpit preaches based on theology.
Which is mostly Paul.
And the Scofield Bible in the 1800s, who is basically somebody who comes, he puts commentary on Bible. Nowhere before the 1800s in church history was there these different interpretations. So you see that this religion, even 200 years ago, has changed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so, so that's kind of the, that's kind of how I see where, like, even in the Persian language, like if I try to tell you a joke in Persian,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't translate.
No.
Because there's so much contextual misunderstanding or lack of understanding that the listener can't really arrive at the punchline. Well, that's the way it was from Aramaic to Hebrew, to Koinonia, Greek.
Yes.
Things get lost in translation. There's contextual, eras of life. There's the status quo of life. There's the there's the way culture was at the time. There's many things you have to take into to account.
100%, yes.
So for me, it's about cutting out the Sadducees and the Pharisees and the priests. The kingdom of heaven is within.
Yes.
You're able to get there just by being earnest about wanting to get there.
100%.
Wanting to get where? Beyond the ego, beyond the fear-based structure of what we call our personal reality, which is shrouded with dogma and trauma and certain societal conditioning that has been put upon us, breaking through that is going to take fortitude.
Yes.
It's going to take courage.
Mm-hmm.
So you may need to be somebody that needs to go to a quiet place. That's why fasting, that's why going to the mountains, going to the caves was important, because it was the ultimate ego destruction. And when that ego gets destroyed, you finally can tune in to what has always been there, which is God's voice. Always
Yes.
been there, always there. But now you have this supernatural energy to link into that. You've been granted access. And once that voice comes through in those quiet times, because you went and you willfully wanted to get close to God. So you're willing to go away from society for a period of time. You do these esoteric things as a means to show God that you're ready.
Yes.
And when you do, the voice comes. You don't need a priest. You don't need any of those things. Once it breaks through, you are on the path of continuous liberation.
Yeah.
This is what I'm here to say. And I don't speak this from what I've learned or read. This is from my direct experience. That's
Yes.
why when I'm speaking to this audience right now, you know, and if you're coming from one of these religious cults, which is fine, you're going to find this very hard. But I'm coming from direct experience. And so if that is causing you some turbulence, you should consider scrutinizing that, questioning that.
Yeah.
And it's going to take courage to break out.
It causes fear, I think,
does.
in the most part.
It does.
And so for anyone who may be, Christian, I come from that lineage, my whole family. And I think what I always come back to, because I've struggled coming to this point, is perfect love casts out all fear.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's all you follow, if that's what you come back to, if that's your core tenet, that works. For me, it's worked.
Yeah.
Because I notice when I get into fear or judgment, fear, shame, condemnation, those are like the three things, that I'm not living in the true source of life. And so that's kind of how I gauge those things, is like, perfect love casts out all fear. So you know that you know where that resides. Every human does. So beyond all dogma, beyond all of the things we even discussed, that's kind of the core that I come back to, is that, okay, I know if I'm leaning towards fear and there's an anxiety or something else coming up in me, that's not God.
Nope.
That's something else.
That's your ego.
So come back to this place that I know, that I've always known. And then from there, I can really see the truth.
So this coming back is the technique.
Yes.
And the more we come back after we get spun or get attacked by fear,
Yeah.
the more we divest and pull back to God, this coming back eventually becomes our default state.
Yes.
And then when fear assaults us, it no longer has power over us.
Yeah.
Because our communication is stable with the Lord. That's it.
Yeah.
And so these are higher states of consciousness. These are higher. The subject is so abstract, and that's why it takes poets, it takes metaphors, allegories. Jesus himself talked in those ways, because this is calculus, and giving calculus to somebody who is only familiar with, let's say, arithmetic.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? The arithmetic is going to be scared. What is this that he's talking about? No blood sacrifice? No eternal hell? What do you mean? What about Hitler? What about Epstein?
Yeah.
They deserve eternal damnation, because fine. You're on a lower level of math. Just the way it is. It's okay.
It's much more complex.
As we level up in mathematics, we find more unity. We find different laws. We find more interconnectedness until we get to the very, 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 very final point, which is the unified field. Everything comes from the unmanifest.
Yeah.
The unmanifest it's like a banyan tree. The banyan tree has seeds, but guess what? The seed is hollow.
Infinite possibility.
Yeah, that hollowness is the unmanifest.
Yeah.
That hollowness has a nature. It's the unmanifest and the manifest together. Unmanifest, manifest. This is what life is.
Yeah.
Unmanifest, manifest. Quiet, dynamic.
Yes.
Pure quietness, pure infinite silence, and then in its outward stroke, pure dynamism. It's the
Yes.
It's the unity of those that is called life. That's where we are.
And one of the things, I don't know why this is coming to mind, but sacred geometry, right? If you look at the macrocosm and the microcosm, a seed all the way to a tree, a flower, a pine cone, whatever you want to look at on planet Earth is all connected. It all reflects each other. As above, so below.
Yeah.
The tree's branches, the tree's roots. Even our system, the way that we are created, our nervous system, looks just like a tree. So if you look at all of these things, you realize, if scientifically even, you realize that everything is connected and everything reflects everything else. Everything is a mirror. And so the beauty
Hologram.
and the beauty of that is it's a piece of art. A really good piece of art has many different things.
Yeah.
It has light, it has shadow, it has texture, it has depth. Right?
Right.
Without the shadow, what can you not see? The light.
Exactly.
You know? And so there's so much more to that, but I just think it's
but
beautiful.
we mixed. So what happens in our five sensory?
Yeah.
We look at that as ultimate reality, but all that is a projection.
Yes.
The projector is the unmanifest. That is our essence. It's projecting all these things, and we sometimes in our five sensory, we get lost in that. But it's just an illusion.
Yeah.
It's not ultimate reality. This life is just an illusion. There is a relative reality within the illusion. Yes.
Of
yes.
course, yeah.
Like if you're watching a movie, right? You know it's a movie, but there is a reality within the movie, right?
Yeah.
So there is a reality within the movie. So nobody's saying, no, there's no reality in the illusion. There is reality in the illusion, but it's a relative reality. Relative to the movie, to the computed system called life. This is a computed reality.
Right.
This is a computer model. If you look at computers, life is like a computer. This is a computed reality, and we live in it. And our job is to find out, uncover that this isn't ultimate reality.
Right.
The ultimate reality is the source, the primal source that we are part of, that we are one with. We are droplets of the ocean.
Right. Well, and I think maybe to wrap this up, I wanted to ask you this. A lot of people would probably say, then what is the point? What is the point of it all?
Because God's evolution is infinite, consciousness by nature, by default, is to know more. We come here to purify our souls so we can get closer to Him. And then it will give us more levels of love that we can get into, that we can't otherwise get. It's not comprehensible to us right now.
Right.
But as our souls purify more and more and more, we get to go into different realms to help others also grow. We're part of God's kingdom to help itself continue in its intrinsic nature, which is infinite knowledge in infinite ways. And there's infinite areas where our contribution is necessary because we're not separate from him.
Yes.
We are God as mirrors reflecting back to God. And that's the beauty of this all. And so that's the point.
Don't you think that, to expound on that, we are supposed to bring heaven to earth in that terminology?
Yeah.
That our job here
Yes.
is to bring heaven to earth.
Yes.
That we are supposed to embody it as fully as possible.
Yes.
So that
just like a green plant can, by virtue of sun and soil and water, can take inorganic minerals and make them edible.
Yeah.
Just like, again, as below, as above, as below, here it is again. A plant is a perfect explanation of this.
Yes.
We are like plants. By virtue of ego destruction, we make what is not digestible, heavenly light, into digestible on earth, just like a plant does.
Yeah.
So the plant and the fruit has value because it's gone through this metamorphosis.
Yes.
We are plants on earth, and we go through this metamorphosis, so we make what is not digestible, digestible, and that is the light. So there's higher levels of light.
Right.
And when we continue this work of what Jesus did, die to the self, he must increase, I must decrease,
Right.
John the Baptist. Then we make this illumination more and more collectively known, and we bring in a new era on this planet. I believe there's other planets that we can go to, other souls will go to help those planets come along as well. So that's why I say it's never like it's over. It's like there's plenty of things to do in God's kingdom. I think one of the main attributes of God is fun.
Yes.
Fun and play.
Yeah.
So do you ever get bored of fun?
No.
Play? No. It's eternal. So anyways, this was the first podcast that we didn't talk about insurance. So we're going to conclude at least with that. And until
we just
next
had
time.
too much fun.
Exactly. So with that, we will see you next week. Thank you so much.